Some setting screens really can overwhelm the user with almost a wall of different options or toggles. And it's not a content problem, it's a disclosure problem. Let me show you the easier way to do this in SwiftUI. SwiftUI has two views built exactly for this. The first is Disclosure Group. This is great for hiding content and expanding it behind this chevron arrow. This way we only see what we want to, and we can close them and reopen them as we need, just like how it's done in advanced settings in Apple settings. We also have OutlineGroup for when your data is recursive, folders inside of folders, maybe even categories within categories. This way users can see what they need to and not get overwhelmed, and when they're done, they can hide those menus again. Let's go ahead and explore both so you can understand them and add them to your own app. Alright, so if you are going to be following along, you'll need Xcode, otherwise you can absorb the information or apply it to your own app. So what is a disclosure group? Well, it's essentially a container that shows or hides content. You'll have a title on top and a disclosure chevron and any content underneath. My personal favorite is to use these within a form, so let's go ahead and create a form real quick, and then we'll add our disclosure group. So it's one word with a capital D and G. We then need to add argument, and this is where our title is going to be. So for mine, I'll just call it something like advanced. We'll then add our braces. Anything within these braces, so in this case, I'm going to have some controls, will be shown when we toggle the chevron. So on the right side of the preview, we can see here we have a chevron, and right now, because it's empty, we're going to be using this to toggle the state being shown and not shown. So I'm just going to add a couple controls in here. I'll do a toggle. I'll call it something like analytics. Then I'll have my isOn state, and I'm just going to have it actually be a constant here because I'm going to be a little bit lazy, and we'll have it be true. And let's do a second toggle within here. And we'll do the stats, and we'll have this one be false. So now when our content view refreshes, we can press on the chevron, and you notice we get a little bit of an animation, and now we can see both those toggles. If we don't want to see them anymore, we can click on the chevron again, and they're hidden. So it's pretty cool. Inside of form, it does look like the native iOS settings expandable row, because that's essentially what it is. Tap the chevron, the content slides in with that animation, and it's very clean. If we were to take it out of a form, we'll go ahead and comment this off real quick. Take a look at what it looks like. We have our button over here. We still get that chevron and that animation. Looks super duper clean inside the form though. So we're gonna put our form back. So the initializer we just used lets SwiftUI manage the expansion. So clicking on the chevron. However, there's also a way for the binding to control the isExpanded state. Why would you care about this? Well, now you might be able to expand it from a button, persist it to user defaults, or even drive it from a search filter. Let's take a look at how we can do that. I'm going to create a new state private variable at the top, and I'm going to call it something like show advanced. And this is going to be a Boolean value with the default being false. Now within our disclosure group, after our title, we're going to add a comma and look at the isExpanded. This is going to then be linked to our binding, so we'll do a $show advanced. After our disclosure group, let's go ahead and really quickly make a button. We'll have the label of this change based on the condition of show advanced. We'll have it with our ternary operator, we'll say collapse, else we'll have it say expand. We'll add a brace, and we'll use a with animation with our braces here, and we'll have our show advanced dot toggle. Now, when we press the expand button, our disclosure group opens, and we can press collapse to close it. You still also can open and close it with the chevron. However, this gives you more control. So this external binding has the same animation. If you're building anything beyond a toy, use this form. The second you need to expand a section from anywhere other than the chevron, the internal version is stuck. Essentially, if I couldn't click on this for whatever reason, then it would be a little bit janky. Next, let's talk a little bit about nesting and where that nesting breaks. Disclosure group inside another disclosure group works. It animates, and we also have automatic indentation. So in our disclosure group here, I'm going to create another one. Add a brace, go ahead and nest these two toggles with it. And make sure you add a title as well. I'm just going to call this one nested. Now when we expand, we can see we have the first menu down. We can then click on the nested, and we can see our toggles. As I mentioned, the indentation between all of these elements is automatic. So this is fine for 2 or 3 levels, but when the data is recursive, folder tree, a comment thread, a category hierarchy, you can't handwrite every single level. The depth is unknown. The shape of the data has to become the shape of the UI. And that's where OutlineGroup comes in. OutlineGroup is a view that takes hierarchical data and renders each level as a disclosure group automatically. You'll give it a root, a children key path, and a row view, and it walks the tree. Let's go ahead and explore that. I'm going to create a new Swift file here, and I'm going to call it file node. And then I'm going to create a new struct in this file, and I'll call it file node, and it's going to conform to identifiable. At our brace, let's go ahead and establish an ID. So I'll have this equal UUID with the empty brackets, and we'll also have a name. And that's going to be a string value. And then we're going to have a variable of children, which is going to be an array of file node as optional to equal nil. We're then going to establish a root for the file node. Also, if you can't find a UUID in scope, make sure you import foundation. Okay, let's go ahead and establish our root, and we'll have it equal the file node. We'll give it a name of documents, and we'll add a comma, and we'll also have the children, which is going to be an array. Within the array, we'll have some more file nodes. We'll have another name of photos. This one will also have children, which is going to be an array of more file nodes. And let's have these say summer.jpg, and we'll add an additional file name here. You can already see when we're kind of coding this out, how we're having these roots and we're going down, just like how a file explorer would work. We'll have our vacation.png maybe here. After the photos, we'll add another one. Let's call it file node work. And for our children, another array here. We'll have a file node with the name of something like notes, txt. And we can just continue to make a couple more of these. Like I'll have one for ideas. So this is just kind of an example of a recursive struct. Each node has an optional children array. Now let's return to our content view here. And let's put this under our button. We're going to create a outline group. Here we're going to have our root, comma, the children, and I'm going to use our \children. We'll add a brace, we'll say node in, we'll include some text, and we'll pass through the node.name. All right, now we can see we have our documents. We then have the photos. We can open that up with the summer.jpg. We then have the work, which goes to notes and even more ideas. And we then have the app.md. So 3 levels, 1 view declaration. Every non-leaf gets a chevron, which are these like little kind of arrows, right? When we tap it, it expands. The row closure runs for every node at every depth. You write the row once and it renders at every level, and we can come back and close them, reopen them at any time. Even if I were to say open up all the way down here, ideas, which is pretty deeply nested, and then close the documents, everything closes. When we reopen it, we still have that kind of saved state of how we were navigating before. Now I do want to note that list does do this for free, because inside a list, there's a shortcut that wraps OutlineGroup for you. You can pass children straight to the list initializer. I'm just going to comment off our OutlineGroup real quick so we can still refer to it later. But I'm going to create a list, and I'm going to add a bracket. And within the square brackets, I'm going to look at the root, comma, the ID, which is going to be that \.id. We'll then also have the children, which will be that \.children. Outside of that, we'll have our brace, and we'll have our node in. From here, let's go ahead and just have a label. You can kind of already see it on the right side here, but we'll have our label, and we'll have the node.name, we'll add a comma, and then we'll do our system image. And this is going to be based off of the node.children. If that double equals nil, we'll do our question mark, and we'll have doc. Otherwise, we'll have folder. Okay, so now we essentially have the same tree. We have the photos, we have the work. Let's go ahead and open them up. And we can see with the list, because we did that little trick with the label and the system images of doc and folder, every row is a list row. We have separators, selection. We even support swipe actions later on, contextual menus. This is the pattern that Finder on macOS and file apps use on iOS under the hood. I do want to kind of just note on macOS, the idiomatic pattern for a hierarchy like the sidebar with the selection is to, and this is in the GitHub by the way, is to add the selection and also a tag for each row. This way users can navigate. We can see here we can click on the documents. We can then also click on the photos to navigate, but still use that chevron in order to go down in the nested routes. The outline group expand behavior is identical, only the navigation model shifts to match the Mac conventions. I'll include this in the description below. If you are building something that has anything to do with exploring files, it's worth a look through. Let's do a quick recap. So for our disclosure group, this is that single collapsible section. You can have the nesting, but we also have the control with the isExpanded, which we've linked to a binding variable, so we can actually use the button or any separate logic to control that expansion. This binding is typically used in real apps. We then took a look at outline group where the data is recursive. Give it a children key path in a row view, which we created in our filter node here, where we had the name, we then had the children, so we can actually kind of have that nesting and embedding. Then we explored list with the children. When you want that more native row Chrome, we even have like the little icons here. You can see how the nesting works with that list on the preview. This model is how Finder and Files do it. You have two views, one mental model. It's state-driven, data-driven, and even animated for free. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe for more SwiftUI videos. Otherwise, dream big, code bigger, and have a great day.